I sat in the back of the conference room, watching Victor Montgomery unveil his revolutionary fitness platform to our company's executive team. The PowerPoint slides were virtually identical to the presentation I'd shown him privately 3 months earlier. Same market analysis, same revenue projections, even the same name, FitSync. The only significant difference was that my name had been replaced with his. As our CEO nodded approvingly at the innovative concept that would disrupt the digital fitness industry, Victor caught my eye from across the room and gave me a small, smug smile. He thought he'd won. After all, he was the executive director of product development at FitTech Solutions, and I was just a mid-level project manager whose idea he could easily claim as his own. Who would the board believe? The ambitious Harvard MBA with connections throughout the industry, or me? What Victor didn't realize was that I had anticipated this betrayal weeks before it happened. I had meticulously documented every step of FitSync's development and embedded a critical failsafe in the architecture, a technical trap that would only reveal itself when the platform launched. As the executives applauded Victor's vision, I checked the calendar on my phone, exactly 58 days until the scheduled public launch. I returned Victor's smile with a calm one of my own, knowing that the countdown to his professional implosion had already begun. My name is Nathan Reed, 34 years old, with a background in software engineering and a specialization in fitness technology applications. I've spent the past decade building a reputation for developing innovative health tech solutions that actually deliver on their promises, a rarity in an industry full of overhyped gadgets and abandoned apps. For the past 3 years, I'd been working at FitTech Solutions, one of the mid-size players in the digital fitness space, steadily advancing from senior developer to project manager based on consistently successful product launches. I wasn't a natural entrepreneur. My strength had always been in execution rather than self-promotion, solving complex technical problems and translating user needs into functional features. But the idea for FitSync had come to me gradually over the previous year, emerging from patterns I'd observed across multiple fitness platforms and conversations with frustrated users. The concept was elegantly simple, yet technically sophisticated. A unified dashboard that would seamlessly integrate data from any fitness device or app, using proprietary algorithms to create personalized guidance that adapted in real time to user behavior and physiological responses. What made it truly revolutionary was the pattern recognition system I'd designed that could identify correlations between seemingly unrelated factors: sleep quality, micronutrient intake, stress levels, and exercise performance, to deliver insights no single fitness platform could provide. I'd spent countless evenings and weekends developing the concept, building prototypes, and testing algorithms on my own time. I'd even invested $12,000 of my personal savings in specialized development, tools, and preliminary patent research. FitSync wasn't just a good idea. It was my vision for transforming how people understood their fitness data, backed by technical innovations I'd carefully refined. The mistake I made was sharing it with Victor Montgomery before I was ready to formally present it to the company. Victor had joined FitTech Solutions 8 months earlier, brought in by our CEO to elevate our product strategy. With an impressive resume featuring stints at major tech companies and a confident manner that commanded attention in meetings, he quickly established himself as a rising star in the company. He took a particular interest in my work, occasionally stopping by my desk to discuss ongoing projects and industry trends. "You've got a strategic mind, Nathan," he told me over lunch one day. "You're thinking beyond features to actual user problems. That's rare." His apparent mentorship was flattering. When he suggested I bring him any ideas I was working on unofficially, promising to help position them properly within the company, it seemed like a career opportunity I couldn't refuse. The meeting where I presented FitSync to Victor was detailed and comprehensive. For 3 hours in a small conference room, I walked him through market analysis, technical architecture, revenue models, and implementation timelines. I showed working prototypes, demonstrated the integration framework, and explained the machine learning models that powered the recommendation engine. "This is impressive work," Victor said, studying the documentation I'd provided. "Truly innovative. But the company has a specific product roadmap for the next 2 quarters. The timing might be challenging. He suggested we keep this between us until he could find the right strategic moment to introduce it to senior leadership. "Let me handle the politics," he advised. "I know how to get these things approved." I left that meeting feeling optimistic. Having an ally at the executive level seemed like exactly what I needed to turn my idea into reality. For the next few weeks, Victor occasionally asked for additional details about specific aspects of FitSync, questions about scalability, security protocols, and intellectual property considerations that seemed appropriate for due diligence. Then, suddenly, his interest appeared to wane. My emails about FitSync went unanswered. Our casual conversations shifted to current projects only. When I directly asked about progress on presenting FitSync to leadership, he cited competing priorities and market timing considerations. The first concrete sign of betrayal came 6 weeks after our initial meeting. A junior developer on my team was reassigned to a special project under Victor's direct supervision. When I asked about the nature of the project, I was told it was confidential and strategic, unusual in our typically transparent development environment. Then 2 more developers from adjacent teams were pulled into the same secret initiative. Company chat channels buzzed with speculation about a major new product in development. I might have remained in the dark if not for Devon, a UX designer who had worked with me on previous projects and who had been brought into Victor's group. "I thought you were part of this," Devon said when we met for drinks after work. "The whole thing is based on that integrated fitness dashboard you were talking about a few months ago." The confirmation of my suspicion sent a cold wave of anger through me. But even as the initial shock hit, my mind was already shifting into analytical mode. I needed evidence, not emotions. I needed leverage, not righteous indignation. "What exactly did Victor tell you about the origin of the project?" I asked Devon, keeping my voice casual. He said it was a concept he'd been developing for about a year, that he brought it with him from his previous position, but couldn't implement it there. Over the next few days, I discreetly gathered more information. Victor had assembled a team of 7 people working full-time on what was now officially called Project FitSync. My name for the platform preserved even as my role in creating it was erased. They were aiming for a company presentation in 3 weeks and public launch in approximately 2 months. My first instinct was to confront Victor directly or go over his head to the CEO. But I quickly recognized the weakness of that approach. It would be my word against his, and he had carefully positioned himself as the visionary, while I was merely a competent executor. Without irrefutable proof of my ownership of the concept, such a confrontation would likely backfire, painting me as a jealous subordinate trying to claim credit for my superior's work. I needed a different strategy, one that would establish my ownership while giving Victor enough rope to hang himself with his own ambition. The trap I had inadvertently left in FitSync's architecture wasn't something I had planted deliberately. It was more accurate to call it a fundamental architectural feature that only its creator would fully understand. The integration framework, the core of FitSync's functionality, required a specific approach to data normalization across disparate fitness platforms. I had solved this through a proprietary algorithm that could translate between different data structures without information loss. This algorithm was elegant but complex, with several counterintuitive elements that were essential to its function, but wouldn't be obvious to someone who hadn't developed it from first principles. Anyone implementing the system based only on my documentation would almost certainly miss these nuances, creating what would appear to be a working system during testing, but would fail catastrophically under real-world conditions with multiple data sources. This was my advantage. Victor understood the business concept and high-level architecture, but he lacked the technical depth to recognize this critical subtlety. More importantly, his ego would prevent him from admitting he didn't understand something, making it unlikely he would assign proper resources to solving the problem correctly. My approach crystallized into 3 parallel actions: documentation, protection, and patience. First, I meticulously compiled evidence of my development of FitSync. I gathered time-stamped, Research notes, early prototypes, and development logs. I located emails where I had discussed elements of the concept with colleagues before Victor joined the company. I retrieved cloud backups showing the evolution of the code over time. I even had search history and purchase records for the specialized tools I'd acquired for development. Next, I filed a provisional patent application for the core integration algorithm, the beating heart of FitSync's functionality. This established a legal record of my invention, time-stamped and officially registered. I was careful to focus the application narrowly on the technical innovation rather than the broader business concept, reducing visibility while maximizing protection of the critical intellectual property. Finally, I adopted a stance of strategic patience. Rather than disrupting Victor's momentum, I would allow his version of FitSync to progress toward launch. The fundamental flaws in implementation would eventually reveal themselves, but only after Victor had fully committed his reputation to the project's success. During this waiting period, I maintained a professional demeanor, focusing on my assigned projects and giving no indication of my knowledge or intentions. When Victor's team eventually presented FitSync to the company, the presentation I described at the beginning, I attended quietly, documented the claims made, and compared them to my original concept. The alignment was unmistakable, down to specific phrases and examples I had used in my presentation to Victor. As the launch date approached, I noticed increasing tension among the development team. In casual conversations with former colleagues now working on FitSync, I heard about integration problems they couldn't quite resolve and inconsistent results when testing with multiple data sources, exactly the issues I had anticipated. 2 weeks before launch, the company held a pre-release demonstration for selected industry analysts. Victor presided confidently, showcasing the sleek interface and ambitious vision. The demonstration used carefully prepared test accounts with limited data sources, just enough to make the system appear functional while hiding its fundamental flaws. The reviews were glowing. FitTech Solutions is positioning itself as the central hub in the fragmented fitness technology landscape, wrote one prominent analyst. Executive Director Victor Montgomery has developed what could become the unified platform the industry has been lacking. Victor's star was rising rapidly. He gave interviews about his innovation, received a substantial pre-launch bonus, and was featured prominently in company marketing materials. The board was discussing an expansion of FitSync into international markets before it had even launched domestically. 1 week before launch, I sent a private email to our CEO, Gerald Patterson, requesting an urgent meeting regarding potential intellectual property and technical concerns with the FitSync platform. I didn't accuse Victor directly or make any claims about idea theft. I simply expressed significant concerns that should be addressed before public release. Gerald, likely influenced by the positive pre-launch publicity, responded briefly that all proper protocols had been followed in FitSync's development and suggested I speak with Victor directly if I had specific technical feedback. This response was exactly what I had expected, and it completed the documentation trail I was building. The trap sprung itself on launch day. FitSync was released with considerable fanfare, press releases, social media campaigns, and a special event at our headquarters. For the first few hours, as early adopters began to sign up and connect their first fitness devices, everything appeared to be functioning as promised. By mid-afternoon, the problems began. Users connecting multiple data sources reported wildly inconsistent results. Activity data from different devices contradicted each other. Nutritional information disappeared when sleep data was added. The personalized recommendations, the feature Victor had highlighted most prominently, were either missing entirely or nonsensical. The company's social media channels filled with customer complaints. Tech blogs that had praised the concept hours earlier were now publishing updates about functionality issues. By evening, the customer support team was overwhelmed, and the development team was frantically trying to identify the root cause of problems that seemed to multiply with each attempted fix. I received a text message from Gerald at 7:42 p.m. Need to speak with you urgently about FitSync issues. In his office 30 minutes later, I found Gerald, Victor, and the Chief Technology Officer, Rachel Winters. Victor looked simultaneously angry and panicked. "Nathan," Gerald began, "the team is having difficulty resolving some integration issues with FitSync. Since you've worked on similar systems, we're hoping you might have some insight." Victor interrupted before I could respond. "This is just a scaling issue. My team needs time to optimize the backend for the user volume." Rachel shook her head. "The logs don't indicate a scaling problem. There's something fundamentally wrong with how the system normalizes data across different inputs." This was the moment I had been waiting for, but I approached it carefully. "I may be able to help," I said. "But first, I need to understand something. Victor, the integration framework being used, is it based on parallel normalization or sequential transformation of the input data?" It was a technical litmus test. Anyone who truly understood the system would immediately recognize that neither approach would work properly. The solution required a hybrid method with conditional processing paths. Victor hesitated, then replied with false confidence. "Parallel. Normalization, of course. More efficient." I nodded. "And the reference integrity validation? Is that happening pre-processing or post-processing?" Another trap question. The correct answer was both, with different validation types at each stage. "Post-processing," Victor said after another slight hesitation, "reduces computational overhead." With those two answers, Victor had conclusively demonstrated he didn't understand the fundamental architecture of the system he claimed to have invented. I turned to Gerald. "I believe I can resolve these issues, but I need to be clear about something first. The FitSync concept, architecture, and core algorithms were developed by me independently before they were presented to Victor 3 months ago." Victor's face flushed. "That's absurd. This has been my project from the beginning." "I have comprehensive evidence indicating otherwise," I replied calmly, "including a provisional patent application for the core integration algorithm filed 6 weeks ago." I opened my laptop and displayed the patent application, then a folder containing my development timeline with independently verifiable timestamps. I also have the original presentation I gave to Victor, with metadata showing it was created months before the official FitSync project began. Gerald and Rachel exchanged glances. Victor started to protest, but Gerald held up his hand. "Let me understand this," Gerald said slowly. "You're saying you developed this concept, shared it with Victor, and he repurposed it as his own?" "That's correct," I replied. "And more importantly right now, I understand exactly why the platform is failing and how to fix it. But I'll only share that solution if 2 conditions are met. Public acknowledgement of my role as the original creator of FitSync and a formal role leading its continued development." The next 24 hours were intense. While the company temporarily took FitSync offline for maintenance, emergency meetings were held with legal counsel, the board was briefed, and Victor was confronted with the mounting evidence of his deception. By the following afternoon, several things had become clear. First, my documentation unequivocally established my creation of the FitSync concept and architecture. Second, Victor had deliberately misappropriated my work while making minimal modifications. And third, without my expertise, the platform's fundamental flaws could not be quickly resolved. The company faced a choice: admit the truth and reorganize the project under my leadership, or maintain Victor's narrative while watching their heavily promoted new product collapse under technical failures. Business reality made the decision inevitable. 2 days after the failed launch, FitTech Solutions issued a clarified press release about FitSync, describing it as developed by Nathan Reed with executive sponsorship from Victor Montgomery. I was named Director of Integration Technologies, reporting directly to the CTO, with full authority over FitSync's continued development. Victor wasn't fired. That would have raised too many questions and potentially triggered legal issues. Instead, he was quietly reassigned to strategic initiatives with reduced responsibilities. 3 months later, he left for a position at a smaller company, his carefully constructed reputation significantly diminished. With proper implementation of the integration architecture, FitSync relaunched successfully 6 weeks after the initial failure. The platform quickly gained positive attention for its seamless integration capabilities and genuinely useful insights, exactly as I had envisioned. Within a year, it became FitTech Solutions' flagship product and the industry standard for fitness data integration. The experience taught me several valuable lessons about innovation in corporate environments. Technical excellence alone isn't enough. Understanding organizational dynamics and protecting your intellectual contributions is equally important. Documentation isn't just for code, it's for establishing ownership and intentions. And sometimes, patience is the most powerful tool in your arsenal. I also learned something about myself. While the vindication was satisfying, what really mattered to me was seeing my creation properly implemented and benefiting users as I had imagined. The title and recognition were secondary to the impact of the work itself. Gerald later admitted that the incident forced the company to reconsider how it handled innovation and credited employees for their contributions. We nearly lost $1 million idea and one of our best minds because we allowed the wrong kind of ambition to be rewarded, he told me during a performance review. That's a mistake we won't repeat. The provisional patent was eventually converted to a full patent with my name as primary inventor and assigned to the company. My compensation was adjusted to reflect my new position and contribution to a key, revenue-generating product. More importantly, my reputation within both the company and the industry was established not just as an executor, but as an innovator. Victor, I heard, struggled to regain his former status. In an industry where credibility and original thinking are highly valued, the story of FitSync's troubled launch and subsequent revelations followed him despite attempts to reframe the narrative. As for me, I continued to develop new features for FitSync while mentoring junior team members to approach problems with both technical rigor and strategic thinking. I became more deliberate about documenting and protecting my ideas, but also more willing to collaborate openly once proper attribution was established. My boss stole my startup idea, but didn't know I left a trap, not an intentional sabotage, but the inevitable consequence of claiming ownership of something he didn't fully understand. The technical complexity that made FitSync valuable became the very mechanism that revealed the truth about its origins. The most effective traps aren't those we set deliberately, but those that arise naturally from the depth of our work and the uniqueness of our perspective. In technology, as in life, true understanding can't be stolen. It can only be earned through the same process of creation and problem-solving that produced the innovation in the first place. 2 years later, FitSync continues to evolve and grow under my direction. Victor occasionally appears in industry news, though never associated with projects of FitSync's significance or impact. And I've learned to balance technical innovation with strategic protection, creating freely while ensuring that credit and control remain aligned with true authorship. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation, but patience, allowing reality to reassert itself when others attempt to distort it. The truth about creation has a way of revealing itself, particularly when the creation is complex enough that only its true originator can bring it fully to life.